sports, be sure to join our daily live stream and listen up. Welcome back to What She Said Sports. All right. All right. So happy Juneteenth. Today's Juneteenth. That's a whole nother video. But welcome back. Happy Thursday. It's already Friday. That's how fast this week is going. So when a lot is happening, time seems to just whiz on by, especially if it's not happening to you, but you paying attention to what's happening. So I want to, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to everyone that left comments of care and concern regarding Shedeur Sanders, right? And, I just want to say that I recognize the same outpouring of love and support for Shadeur that there was for Travis Hunt. And I'm not surprised. Why? Because they both are good guys. They both are good young adults. Yes, they are the dynamic duo, but individually they are good guys, right? They are good guys. And just like with Travis, there were a few people who seemed agitated that people that don't personally know Travis could care about him. And saw it again. There was only one or two people in the comments last night. One person said we were babying him. And I said, by babying, you mean protecting, right? And again, There's people that don't understand why you could care about somebody who you've been watching since he was a little kid, right? They think you have to personally know people to care. And that explains the predicament a lot of our young Black men are in. It seems that people feel like, well, I don't know him and nobody cared about me, so I'm not going to worry about him. Or I don't know him, he's a stranger. No, he's not. It still takes a village. And when people are trying to put out rights only signs and you see attacks on Black people, Black history, trying to do everything under the sun to agitate you, to get you to go out in the streets, right? And fight for what's happening to Black people. Why shouldn't you be concerned about what's happening to a young Black man? That is Black excellence, right? Travis Hunter, people who worried about him, and the people that weren't, the people that said let him crash out, were the same people that when he got married without a prenup, that called him stupid, that make fun of him. And just like Shadeur, the same people, that try to excuse away what's happening by saying, y'all are babying this kid, are the same people, if something else happens, they're going to call him stupid. So they don't care now and they're not going to care later. So when you see people saying negative things like that, just ignore them. Rally around people and build a community around the people who give a damn. Because that's what you're seeing. And the ones that don't give a damn are the ones that don't give a damn about our youth that they see being hurt in the streets. We all know, because we have talked about it extensively. If you're paying attention, you know that young people under the age of 18 to 25 are not just the most desirable marketing demographic to sell products to because they can prey on them. They're using science that shows that young people under the age of 25 are prone to impulse and prone to poor decision making because their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. Meaning, on a good day, they're going to make mistakes. People like to throw their kids out at 18 because you're old enough to vote, but your brain isn't fully developed yet. So you can't turn your back on young people. Give them till they get to 26, right? So plan to be surrounded by people who understand why there's concern for Shadeur, right? Not only because he's Shedeur Sanders, but because he's going through an extremely difficult time in his life. Not because he just left home. He left home before he went to Jackson State. He left home then. This is not his first foray not living at home. He didn't live at home in Boulder. His dad had a beautiful estate. He didn't live there. He lived on his home, right? But we see him being targeted. Now, this is what it looks like to be targeted. They want to say Caitlin Clark is being targeted. No, Shedeur Sanders is being targeted, right? We talked about when he had his Rolls Royce was booted at Boulder. How if that was a quarterback at UT, they would have just said, hey, you just can't park here, bro. Right? They wouldn't have tried to stick it to him. Embarrassing. Something we saw happen, what? In the draft, and nobody expected it. Nobody expected the NFL as a league and the majority of the owners as a whole. Nobody expected the NFL to target Shedeur Sanders. And you know he was targeted because they sent out his phone number to 2,000 people who did not need to know what a waiver wire, and they lied and said it was the Falcons, and only 2 people saw it. And it came from this pad. That whole story is up for challenge. Because we saw the Ole Miss sweatshirt guy make the phone call and not the defensive coordinator's son that they said it was. And they refused to talk about the Ole Miss sweatshirt guy and the Ole Miss sweatshirt to the New York Giants through the GM running to the Mannings and the New York Giants organization. Shadeur is being targeted. And this is where the NFL comes in at, okay? Now, we know about the pink substance, right? We know about the pink substance, and common sense would say you need to investigate that. Because if that is 2C, the purposes that it's intended for and what it contains is meant to make somebody unaware of what's happening to their body, right? That's nothing that you turn the blind eye to, right? But they did. They just like, come on in, step on eggs, right? And then maybe it's because I have to do that with Stephon Diggs because maybe it's because Danica Patrick came out and told her story about Aaron Rodgers leaving a trail of blood, allegedly. And they ain't look into that because it was very important. It was more important to force Aaron Rodgers onto Mike Tomlin than it was to investigate the claims of physical abuse, assault, and battery. And this week, whether y'all know it or not, Aaron Rodgers is wearing a wedding ring because he told people he got married. I mentioned that. I'm like, somebody said he got married. His family is like, we don't know nothing about that. They think he's lying. They think he put on a ring and made up an imaginary bride to hide the fact, to present it like this. Oh, Danica Patrick came out and said, I abused her, but this girl loved me. She married me, so I can't be an abuser. Manipulation. Are they looking into that? No, because it's more important to force Aaron Rodgers onto Mike Tomlin. And since Aaron Rodgers is allegedly the person that said, I told the Pittsburgh Steelers, if y'all draft Shadeur, forget about me. That lets you know they was going to draft Shadeur. Along with the statement that Mike Tomlin said, which is recorded because they have green room footage, because we saw the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars use it. Mike Tomlin said there were these phone calls. And y'all saw how the green rooms are set up. Nobody had a phone up to their ear. It was on a conference device. Everybody could hear it. Mike Tomlin said there were these phone calls. We had to listen to these phone calls. He didn't say I. He said we, which means he was not the only person in the room. He painted a picture for me. And then the other guy was still available, so he went with them. So somebody that can be identified called the Pittsburgh Steelers. The call was on conference. And everybody heard what was said about Shadeur that is likely a lie. And that is what they used to dissuade Mike Tomlin from drafting Shadeur before it was Pittsburgh time to select. Shadeur is being targeted. And here's the problem. The NFL knew on or before February 20th. An NFL insider, put a pin in NFL insider. An NFL insider told Mel Kiper Jr. the NFL does not want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now. Why did the NFL draft Shedeur? Why did the New York Giants put on a lie so they didn't have to draft Shedeur? But they was never going to ever draft Shedeur. Why all of this dog and pony show and charades to make Shadeur look like a bad guy, to destroy him, assassinate his character? Because the NFL don't want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders. Now, don't draft him. Simple solution. But no, you had to exploit him for his views, his celebrity, his clicks, his be legendary, something you claim you don't like. And now that you feel like you don't need it no more, because you got your precious Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh instead of Shedeur, you ready to discard him. So you send him to Cleveland, a place where clearly he wasn't welcome with open arms. That 2,000 people, 62 of them were right there in Cleveland that got that email making fun of Shadeur. So he went into a hostile environment. Shadeur is being targeted. And I told y'all the media is the right hand of the NFL. And when you hear people say NFL insider, there's only so many of them. And some of them have labels on their social media highlighting exactly who they are. And when you know their names and you look them up, it tells you exactly the lies that they spread about Shadeur, that they say they got firsthand from scouts. Verifiable information. Just like the person that made the phone call before Pittsburgh was getting ready to draft Shadeur and dissuaded Mike Tomlin can be identified, so can this NFL insider that told Mel Kiper Jr. the NFL don't want quarterbacks like Shadeur. The NFL is in trouble. They need to wiggle out of, why the hell did you draft him then? You wouldn't be in this position if you didn't draft him. Why did you draft him? Yeah, why did you draft him? Because you didn't want him to go to Canada where he will probably end up anyway? Put out a poll today. I didn't expect nobody to answer it because I put it out 5 minutes before this show started. I already had 60% of people Question is, should Shedeur Sanders go to the CFL? 60% overwhelmingly said yes. He was already on that negotiating list. Sometimes you got to let people have what the hell they think they want. Now, I'm a firm believer of if God opened the door for you and you stay there till he on the next one. But the next one might point to Canada, and that's where you go. And by the time if it comes to that, Shadeur's gonna be okay. He's not gonna be going to Canada wondering why he's going to Canada. He's gonna understand that Canada is his protection because they are targeting him in the NFL because supposedly they didn't want him after he was in that flag football game. They didn't want him to be a quarterback right now. Why right now? 17-32. Stand on it. The NFL's message is I would rather take pink substance and a guy that killed somebody because they're not quarterbacks. And I would rather have an alleged domestic abuser and an alleged SA guy and quietly dismiss Justin Tucker, even though I talked about Deshaun Watson incessantly and still do, than to have black excellence at the quarterback role, especially at a time now when the NFL is getting ready to have a majority of starting quarterbacks for the first time in history. It was a known fact that the 2025 draft was that draft because the way 2024 started. And since 2020, the trend has been more and more black quarterbacks are starting. So in 2025, when this elite class of black quarterbacks go in the first round, whether it's 2 or 3, if it's 2, the second one, number 17, Shedeur Sanders to the Cleveland Browns is the majority. It now makes the majority of starting quarterbacks. So the NFL would rather ignore pink substance and ketamine and all the potentials that alleged product could have in it that we saw on a yacht in Miami with 3 women around. The implications of that. They would rather ignore the implications of that. They would rather not look into that. They would rather welcome that back with open arms because he's not a quarterback. It's not a coincidence that the people closest to the NFL and ESPN and all these other big box channels are the one keeping up the conversation about Henry Ruggs. Nobody else is talking about that because we know that Ray Rice didn't come back, right? We know Ray Caruth didn't come back, right? So the NFL wants his speed and athleticism, so they're willing to look the other way. But at the quarterback position, they don't want that. You don't want somebody with no character issues. You shun black excellence in Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur checked off all the boxes. You shunned good character. You shunned the best quarterback in college football, the most accurate quarterback in college football because he was number 17. And you pushed the athleticism, combined athleticism of Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick. You pushed him down in the draft too. They just don't talk about him. He's number 18. And the father of number 19, supposedly, when his son was offered $8 million, pushed it away without knowing his son's supposed to be number 19. He should have took the $8 million. Because look what they did to number 17 and number 18. And number 16, Cam Ward is out here competing for his starting job. He's number 1 overall, QB1, and people are pointing it out. Nobody else has had to compete. Why is he being forced to compete? Because these black quarterbacks are being targeted because they're getting ready to be the majority. It was supposed to be in the draft, but the NFL had its way. But look what it took to get it. Shadeur was the chosen one at number 17. He didn't have to be number 17. He could have went to Tennessee. But Tennessee didn't want to use that pick. But then suddenly I decided to. Because it would have been very obvious If Cam Ward was pushed down in the draft, Shedeur Sanders was pushed down in the draft, and Jalen Milroe was pushed down in the draft, it would have been obvious it was racism. So let me take the one black out of the three, and maybe if people won't scream racism. You must think we stupid. We're not. Just because you believe black players have inferior brain functioning to whites don't make it true. And they tell you that they still pushing that narrative, even though they just paid out $1 billion lawsuit in 2021. Because what is the problem with Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Jalen Milroe becoming the majority of the starting quarterbacks? What is wrong with having 17 black starting quarterbacks? They winning, aren't they? So isn't that the goal? What is the problem of having a majority black starting quarterbacks? So much so that you want to assassinate the character and publicly humiliate and hurt and tear down black excellence in Shedeur Sanders. They can't say shit about his speeding ticket because they didn't say a damn thing about what Danica Patrick said about Aaron Rodgers, and now he out here running around with a wedding ring on, trying to refute what the hell she said, but all the NFL had to do was look into it. But no, it's more important to force Aaron Rodgers, who they already have said is problematic and promises won't be a problem in Mike Tomlin's locker room. So they taking on a problem over black excellence. They taking on alleged domestic abuse over black excellence. They willing to shun black excellence in favor of Pete Tucci, allegedly, because he not a quarterback. And come on, let me get your athleticism. But they willing to shun the athleticism of Jalen Milroe, which is a combined Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick, because he's a quarterback. And if anybody want to talk about Deshaun Watson, let's go. Because all the money he paid out to those victims and his legal fees have been reimbursed to him. Because why? He wasn't the only one. Justin Tucker told you that. And they quietly let him go out the back door. They didn't even want to say that they released him because of his problems. They just said his performance issues. And understand this. Justin Tucker's situation, the catalyst was the women in these spas. In Houston, Deshaun Watson asked for a trade. These black quarterbacks are being targeted. They've been ostracized. They already been having hurdles put in their way. Shedeur Sanders was the most extreme case because of what was at stake. He's the chosen one. He's number 17. The NFL's message is, I'd rather take a white domestic abuser who's been alleged to abuse a woman and leave a trail of blood on the floor, even though he out here lying with a wedding ring on his finger, than to take black excellence as the quarterback because I don't want 17 or 32. What is wrong with having the majority of the quarterbacks to be black as starters? What's wrong with that? What's the problem? Because you believe that they had lower cognitive functioning? Well, clearly they don't. So you rather hold on to a damn lie than to live with the truth. Shedeur is being targeted. And by the people that he thought were his father's friends and his friends too. Because Shedeur and his father were in those rooms with the owners and the commissioner laughing and holding him on his shoulder like he's his friend. They just had him in a celebrity football game. And if they decided somewhere on about February 20th that they didn't want quarterbacks like Shedeur, guess what they should have did? Not drafted him. He could have went to Canada. So to try to destroy him now, hell no. And now they know he has fans. He don't just have fans. We are all football fans that like college football and NFL football. And we don't like what you're doing to Shedeur. So people like Mary Cabot better get the message. We are NFL football fans, and we don't like how you are publicly harassing Shedeur and approaching him with microaggressions. We expected him to be in a professional environment. And as NFL football fans, we have something to say about Shedeur being targeted and everything that has transpired up to this moment. Because why? The NFL seemingly doesn't want the majority of its starting quarterbacks to be black. What's the problem with that? You shouldn't have drafted it. What your greed is why you drafted him. And you're not going to discard him like he's trash because you never wanted him. So that's what it is. So that's what it is. That's what it is. Y'all seen this young man deal with things he shouldn't have to, be put in situations he was lured into, and he trying to cope with it all. And it's a lot. And somebody pointed out in the comments that he didn't even have time to deal with what happened in the draft. And you put that with what his unwelcome, his unfriendly welcome to Cleveland, his cold, condescending welcome to Cleveland, when everybody knowing that he's the joke, you the one that's gonna get cut. They cut him then. Just like you didn't have to draft him, cut him. Because if you think you're gonna end his career because he playing Canada, you crazy. Because we going too. But maybe you know that. So you think you're gonna waste his youth on the bench like you have so many others. You ain't gonna do that either. Because we are NFL fans and we didn't start when he got to the league. A lot of NFL fans like college football. And that's what they're grappling with right now. How can we continue to target him and discard him without the NFL fans saying something? You can't, because you can't answer to the fans. So I'm gonna tell you what they're doing. They searching with their stories that they putting out to see who's against Shadeur. How many people are against Shadeur? Because you can't say if you don't want the majority of your starting quarterbacks to be black, raise your hand. They can't do that. So I gotta feel people out. But they stuck. Because who are the loudest people? All of the voices that support Shadeur. NFL fans, we ain't just college football fans. See, football fans like football. This is not 1934 when they banned all black players from the league and maybe nobody said nothing. I wasn't around. I have no idea. Hell, my mom wasn't around. Hell, my daddy neither. And maybe they got away with that. But we are in the same environment that existed when Warren Moon decided to go to Canada so that the NFL would not devalue him, which is exactly what they did to Shadeur, which is why so many people, 60% already out the gate, are saying Shadeur should have went to Canada. What's happening to Shadeur is no, he's not leaving home for the first time. He's leaving a protected environment where people respect and love him for the first time. They just retired his number in Colorado, and they were right to do so. He and Travis did a great job of turning that program around. And if people before them upset that their coaches and GMs or whatever, the athletic directors didn't retire their jersey, that's on them. Because that ain't something Coach Prime could have asked for, and it been yes. A lot of people were involved at the top in making that happen. They turned that program around. But there are people who don't want Shadeur to make it, especially not at number 17 or even number 18. Cam is already 16. So right now, they're doing exactly what I told you they was gonna do. They jumping all kind of hurdles to hold him back from the QB1 position. That is the only reason why he's not the starter in Cleveland. If this were about football, this would be about talent. This is about preference. Aaron Rodgers is the preference. They prefer to pay Aaron Rodgers, who no team wanted, more than they preferred to pay Russell Wilson, who took Pittsburgh to the playoffs. And everybody knows George Pickens was a problem, which is why he's in Dallas. They know DK Metcalf played with Aaron Rodgers and I'm sorry, with Russell Wilson, and that Russell Wilson should still be right there in Pittsburgh, running it back to go to the playoffs with DK Metcalf. They know that. But it was more important to take a guy that's 42 that nobody wanted, that a woman who's also famous and people love and respect came out and said he leaves a trail of blood. I ain't say you had to believe it, but you damn sure should have looked into it first rather than put him on an NFL squad this year. But since you did, I guess we just gonna have to talk about it. Or if you don't want to talk about it, I guess you're gonna have to look away from everything else that happens because you can't say shit about a speeding ticket after you ignore alleged domestic abuse. See, that's what happens when you do shit you shouldn't. Now you're in a situation, you got to excuse every damn thing else that happens. You can't say shit about Shadeur. You can't say I'm cutting him because he got. You can't do nothing. You can't say shit about Shadeur. And I'm talking about the NFL and the Cleveland Browns damn sure can't say shit because Stephon Diggs is still over there with that alleged pink substance that looks like Tootsie, which has ketamine in it, standing in front of 3 damn women and nobody investigated. So shut the hell up about Shadeur. This forces y'all to shut the hell up about Shadeur. And if you send out the media, we going to be right here. And we're going to start calling them out one by one and digging into their profiles and seeing who they really being paid by. Because if I see NFL insider behind your name, it's going down. All green rooms have discovery. Every last one of them have discovery and fall within the scope. And if it ain't that lawsuit, there'll be another. And everybody that said anonymous, you up next. You up next. Because anonymous didn't walk up to or didn't make the phone call that Pittsburgh had to listen to. There's a voice behind that name. And everybody know who it was. So we're going to see who really matters. I said there needed to be divine intervention yesterday to hold the NFL accountable. This it right here. This it. You can't say shit about Shadeur. You can't do shit about Shadeur. You cannot continue to target Shadeur because you didn't do shit about Aaron Rodgers. And it's not a coincidence that Aaron Rodgers is the person they used to block Shadeur. This is karma. So proceed. This is divine intervention. Cleveland better leave Shadeur the hell alone and make sure he has a welcoming work environment just like everybody else. And stop playing around because we know he's the best. He's your starter. And if the O-line suddenly can't play, they going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem at every turn and step because we on to you. We on to you and we on to the people that y'all use to do your damn bidding. And you see us and you hear our voices and you obviously can't ignore it because you're trying to figure out who's not on this side. There's more people on this side than you think. Now they know it ain't just a Shedeur Sanders fan base. It's an NFL fan base that got a problem with the way the NFL and the Cleveland Browns are treating Shedeur. Just because the NFL is choosing to stay quiet. We know Cleveland is taking direct orders because the script that y'all use in the damn draft is the same one you're using in Cleveland. The identical one. Playing keep away with the QB1 position for Shedeur Sanders because he's 17 to 32. So why does the NFL seemingly have a problem with the majority of its starting quarterbacks being black? Please tell me what's the problem? Because the 2 black quarterbacks went to the Super Bowl and one of them won. And the same two went about a year or 2 ago. And almost 4 quarterbacks made it to these what they call them conference championships, right? So what's the problem with 17 to 32? What's the problem with 18 of 32? Lenore Sellers, senior, or whoever, your son is 19. You should have took the money. And you should have known that from the last draft. So we on to it. The gig is up. The curtain is pulled back. This is about Shedeur being a black quarterback. Because we see what they let people like Stephon Diggs do, right? They don't even investigate. We see how they got posse out here stomping for Henry Ruggs to see how people gonna feel about that. Why you didn't let Ray Rice come back then? See, they're not used to fan accountability. They don't even want to admit who their fans truly are because they don't want to be accountable to people that look like the players that they are ostracizing. They don't want to be accountable to the people that look like the quarterbacks that they are targeting. They don't want to be accountable to people who support Shedeur Sanders. They want to be able to move freely like they did in 1934 when they banned all black players from the NFL. That's what they want to do. But this is 2025. And just because one person tried to put out a whites only sign, we probably didn't care to go there anyway. So they was wasting their time. And if we did want to go there, we going. The curtain has been pulled back. This is about black quarterbacks. This is about Shadeur being a black starting quarterback. This is about 17 of 32. This is about the NFL seemingly have a damn problem with the majority of its starting quarterbacks being black. So guess what? I'm going to do everything in my power and throw everything in the kitchen sink at number 17. Who is that? Shedeur Sanders. They don't talk about number 18. They don't want you to know that Lenore Sellers is 19. They don't want you to know that. So if I can't finagle in the draft, I'm gonna have to finagle on this side, which means maybe at the end of this year, which is why Russell Wilson probably only got a 1-year contract, I'm gonna boot him out. Then Lenore Sellers can come in. Anthony Richardson is hurt. Well, maybe I should, since everybody knows what's going on, let Shadeur go, because then he'll be number 16. And then Milroe will be 17. But they shouldn't be doing none of this. They shouldn't be doing none of this. This is about the competition of the sport. This is about talent. This ain't about your racist ideology. It's not about that at all. Your fans are not down with that because you don't even want to admit who your fans are. The demographics are out there. And they may keep certain things private, but there's enough public information out there. The fact that the league is majority black and people want to watch the players play, what you think they family, friends, and other black people not going to watch? That's why black people are 45% and white people are not 55. There are other people in those demographics too. So they're being met with a problem at every turn as they try to exclude Shadeur in Cleveland and try to exclude him in the draft. This is why they know, oh, he got a fan base? We NFL fans. Get the message. NFL fans don't like the way the NFL and the Cleveland Browns are mismanaging Shedeur Sanders, mishandling Shedeur Sanders, excluding Shedeur Sanders, discriminating against Shedeur Sanders in the draft, pre-draft, and now in Cleveland. We see you and we calling you out. We want to see good football, not your damn bias play out. This is not 1934. And if you didn't want him, you should have drafted him, and we would have happily ran up to Canada and watched him play. But you know that. So you know we NFL fans. Like, we shouldn't have to deal with this, bro. We supposed to be getting ready for football season. We supposed to be looking forward to get ready to football season. Don't nobody want to sit up here and deal with this. All because they have a problem with the majority of their starting quarterbacks being black. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. All you got to do is look at what's happening in the hoop. There's already a disparity between Deshaun Watson and Justin Tucker. And then can't nobody understand why Deshaun Watson got $240 million. And if you just want to be honest, why did they let Michael Vick come back? Because Dante Culpepper went and was drafted before him, right? And he was in the climate that in college, they didn't even want Dante Culpepper to go to one of these big schools. So they forced him down to UCF, and he balled out there. And then when the league did draft him for the first year, what they let him have? 5 rushes? They didn't even let him throw the ball. And then who came right after that? Michael Vick. So you trying to tell me somewhere between Dante Culpepper and Michael Vick, all was forgiven, all was settled. I'm good with black quarterbacks now. Dante Culpepper was truly the first dual threat. Maybe they let him come back for the same reason Deshaun Watson got $240 million. Maybe I had something to do with it. Maybe I was wrong at some point in the process. Maybe I was a catalyst for the process. There's a reason. Because how do I go on to treat quarterbacks after him? Tyrod Taylor, his lung is punctured. I believe he's still in the league because he got that open case against the doctor who still got a job, San Diego Chargers, that punctured his lung, which caused him to lose what? His starting job. And he never got it back. Let's see if Anthony Richardson gets his back. They got a quarterback down there in Detroit that ain't played in 2 years, 68 yards. That's just hoarding talent. That's just holding talent back. And now they abusing the talent, which is Shadeur. You can't say, why won't he quit? Why the hell did you draft him? It's the same question I asked about Vince Young. Why the hell did you draft Vince Young, who you knew was a dual threat, who was a champion as a dual threat, and you want to convert him to a pure pocket passer? Who was that, 2005, 2006? Michael Vick, Dante Culpepper to Vince Young. Now, what's so special about Michael Vick? That they willing to just say, you just want to believe that they let him come back. When I'm tearing down the quarterback after him, and I'm holding back the quarterback before him. And when it came to Michael Vick, they bankrupt his family because 5 years after they gave him a signing bonus, they went back and took it back. That's probably why they let it come back, because that was wrong. And people called them out for that. That's why he came back. I told you. When it comes to these black quarterbacks, if you see them do something nice, it's because they already did something wrong. That's why Deshaun Watson got $240 million. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong about them not holding Shedeur back because he's 17 or 32. The NFL does not want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now. But they drafted 2 pocket passes. So this ain't got nothing to do with skill set. Prove me wrong. Why didn't you talk about Jalen Milroe in the draft? He went to Nick Saban's Alabama. Why didn't you push Jalen Hurts down in the draft? He just won the Super Bowl. Philadelphia also does not have any primetime slots at the top. They don't have the most primetime slots, and they just won the Super Bowl. We just talked about that. 17 to 32. Prove me wrong. This is about the majority of starting quarterbacks being black. And on your TV screen, every week, primetime, week after week after week after week. And 4 quarterbacks coming out of all these divisions in 2 conferences vying for the Super Bowl. And then 2 quarterbacks going back to the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in 5 years. Prove me wrong. That's why Josh Allen don't have no competition, and people were shocked. People were shocked as hell when Justin Fields escaped Philadelphia for where? The Jets. Who's in whose division? Josh Allen. Pay attention. 17 of 32. This is discrimination. Excluding Shadeur like that, not giving him the opportunities to throw with the ones, not saying that it's a true competition, holding him back to 144 and then letting him compete for the starting job, but then not giving him the same opportunities is a setup to fail. They're excluding him, they're targeting him, they're discriminating him, and they're keeping him away from the starting position intentionally. That's a lot for a young man who comes from a protected environment his entire life to deal with. He likely don't understand it. He likely still believes this is about his father. His father likely still believes this is about him because most of the quarterbacks when he played were white. And now his son is in an entirely different situation. In the way Coach Prime moved, he moved as whatever position he played that was not a quarterback, a corner. He played defense. He even said he glad his sons don't have his speed. He was talking about Shadeur. That's why he was always so proud of Shadeur being a quarterback. He knew Shadeur had a gift. And that's why it hurt him for people that he called friends and family to tear you down. When your friends and your family tear you down, it's only one reason. There is something that they don't want you to attain that is more than what they have. The majority of the starting quarterbacks would be black, with Shadeur going to Cleveland at the number 2 position, number 17 of 32. Prove me wrong. It's not easy to feel this way, to know the truth, to speak it. I mean, I never had a doubt about it, but what's happening to Shador shouldn't be happening. And if his father's negatively affected health wise, then what you seeing with Shador is also a part of that. Somebody said, even if he had a ticket before, they're still within the window, right? We saw Shador from pre-draft. You could go all the way back to February 20th up until right now and everything he's had to endure, starting with before the combine. The NFL does not want quarterbacks, plural, like Shedeur Sanders now. The only reason you would go on the record and say that is because you think other people are stupid and don't know what it means. That's arrogance. And then you sending mixed messages, right? Why he didn't show combine then? When they start going in on him about him being entitled, which is something nobody had ever seen. They can't say shit about that speeding ticket. He didn't have his license suspended, nothing they can say. It's more of a problem for him personally and a signal that he's having trouble coping. He's trying to find ways to cope with the discrimination, the exclusion, the racism, the targeting, the singling out, the being stabbed in the back, the betrayal by people he called friends in the NFL. How one team could lie on him when all the other teams had something good to say. 4 teams, 3 were positive, 1 was negative, but that's the one that they listened to take him off the board. Why they didn't tell him that? They betrayed him. They lured him to the draft. The NFL is in trouble. And like when people are in trouble, they scampering, trying to find ways to cover. Prove me wrong. They didn't expect anybody to speak out about Shadeur. I have no idea why. Just because you have preconceived notions that are false about black people sticking together, that's on you. And it ain't just black people that feel like what I'm saying. And that's the problem the mistake that they are making. Nobody's white's going to stand up for Shadeur. Why the hell would you believe that? That's arrogance. They have a false sense of security. And when you tell one lie, you got to tell another. That's why nobody in New York has been disciplined for intentionally lying and defaming Shadeur. The New York Giants should be forced to sell their team, and they need to have the same ownership structure, which is public, for the Green Bay Packers. Between Saquon Barkley and Shadeur, So let me see what y'all are saying. Thank y'all so much. Hey Gracie, how you doing? Hey Val. Hey Charlotte. Hey Tina. Hey Freeman, how you doing? Welcome back, Jackie. Jackie, welcome back. Kay Hayes. Wynette, welcome back, Wynette. MSD, welcome back. Louisiana girl, nice to have you back. Tina, Jerry. Okay, Val, C, Michael Smith. All right, everybody. Kimberly. Okay. Rodney. Yep. Nice to see everybody. Thank you, Peter, so much. You just became a member. I appreciate that. We are having a members only live stream on Friday. And I know I said we're talking about NFL Africa, but we have another topic to discuss. I've been doing my research. So, Friday, 6 p.m. tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you just became a member, you're going to get the notification. Make sure y'all notifications are on. Also, daily, check out the member section. We communicate there. We talk there. I put the link to the body cam footage yesterday in the members only section. Jerry started the conversation. You can keep the conversation going in the members only section. So make sure you know where that is. Just make sure your notifications are on. Yeah, they don't want no accountability, Michael, at all. They doing, and see, let me tell you why they bold with it. See, I peeped this in the Super Bowl when they took in racism out, right? That was the message. That was the signal. We don't have to give a damn no more. Because why? 47, they say, wanted it out. So believe me, when he threw them for a loop, when he said, y'all stupid, why the hell hadn't he been drafted? And y'all better draft him immediately. That's why he got drafted. That's why they still treat him like a stepchild or Cinderella, as some people have said in the comments. Because they don't want him. And they didn't want Vince Young, and they destroyed him. So the people at UT had to be pissed off with the NFL about the way they treated their star. See, college, these guys are respected and loved. You see what Shadeur. But the NFL, that's why they want them to leave everything about college behind. See, do I think Shadeur should go to Canada? Yes. Yesterday. And definitely after this. Because he's unraveling. He's having trouble coping. He needs to get into therapy ASAP. And even a therapist is going to tell him, well, it sounds like you're in a toxic environment. And he needs to learn and unlearn. This is not about your father. And when he separates the fact that it's not about his father and he sees it for the truth that it is, this is about you being a Black quarterback. You need to learn your history. I sent him a list of names of quarterbacks that y'all have heard me talk about that have gone through some of the same things that he has gone through, and they were all talented. They don't give a damn about your talent. And I put his name in there because he's now added to the list of Black NFL quarterbacks that have been discriminated against by the NFL. They all should sue. And I have no idea why they won't. I have not read their contracts, but there must be something in there. Or they must still be getting benefits from retirement. So they're like, just let it go. That's to pacify them. Nothing is worth being treated like you unwanted, abandoning you, discarding you, holding you back, making your lane harder than the white players. And it took me a minute to get to the point to where I said, I want him to go to Canada. It's this incident. Because before that, I was like, well, Russell Wilson, like he made it. Maybe if Russell Wilson just talked to it. I said it here. Told y'all I was okay. I was not okay. I had to process that. He has to process that. What worked for his dad to cope is not going to work for Shadeur because they're not going through the same thing. Yes, they hated Coach Prime because he was confident, but did it hold him back? No. Why? Because they used his athleticism. He wasn't the leader of the team. He wasn't the face, technically. He kind of was, but technically they ain't see it that way. As long as you in that position of quarterback, I don't give a damn. The moment you inherit that title, it's on. It's on before that. They make it harder, but then when you actually attain it, it gets harder. It isn't worth it. Briscoe's deceased. Joe Gilliam is deceased. Their stories are no different than Shadeur's. Winning out outright in Kent, the starting job, and they gave it to Terry Bradshaw. Y'all saw Shedeur won the competition outright. They won't give it to him. Joe Gilliam. Marlon Briscoe. Denver told him point blank, period. We just don't want you to be our quarterback. He's good. He was winning. They ain't give shit. They don't care now. Cleveland would rather lose than have black excellence at the helm, which explains to me why they had three black quarterbacks rotating through the 2023 season. And they handed over a winning record to Joe Flacco from the practice squad. And I want y'all to know that's the only reason why these 2% battery lifers are still around. They don't need them. They got what they need. And these black guys, Michael Penix Jr., look at how they had to go through that BS in Atlanta. Hell, I'm right here. I was upset. And now he the starter. He had to win it even though he was already better than Kirk Cousins. Look at Aaron Rodgers. He really was blocking Shadeur from the starting job, and Mike Tomlin said it. Shadeur would have just been behind Aaron Rodgers, and he like, I ain't gonna do that to him. I ain't mad with Mike Tomlin. Why y'all think Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh? They say Mike Tomlin won a Super Bowl. That ain't enough. He never had a losing season, and he won a Super Bowl, but they still want to force him out. Just him then. Oh no, we don't want to get in trouble for that. So I gotta do it the underhanded way. This is so snakish. Backstabbing. It's gonna change the intro from Alabama State to Is It a Crime? Because I'm talking about Shadeur, and yes, it is. To Backstabbers by Southern University. But the girls are so good, I couldn't change it. Same story. Is it a crime and backstabbers? It's the same message. The NFL does not want to be held accountable for being openly discriminatory against black quarterbacks. Again, this is not new. It's not new. This is extreme because of what was at stake, and they use these NFL insiders who are reporters who have names and are up for discussion about what they said about Shadeur that fueled the defamation campaign. And only one team had a defamation campaign against Shadeur. Owners didn't have to listen to that. They made choices too. They made choices to tear down and lead a character assassination and devalue black excellence in favor of somebody that's not as good because he's white. I have no problem with saying that is what's happening here. That is why instead of Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe at the number 2 and 3 quarterbacks, it is who? Jackson Park, Tyler Shough. Why wasn't it Quinn Ewers and Tyler Shough? Because Quinn Ewers didn't go to Ole Miss. He went to UT. But for people who say, see, they colluded against Quinn Ewers and he right. Right. They didn't defame him. They didn't disparage him. They didn't have a public humiliation campaign going around. They didn't send out his phone number to 2,000 people. They didn't assassinate his character. They just left him for last. See, that's different. See, that's different. I don't want to hurt you, and I'm gonna come back and give you all this money because I know they offered you $6 million to stay in school, and you probably were supposed to go after Shadeur. But you know what? We couldn't do that, so we had to leave you down here too. Do you see them tearing Quinn Ewers apart? No. Even the Quinn Ewers family know Jackson Dart had no business in New York. That's that Ole Miss connection running through the New York Giants, which is why the guy had the Ole Miss sweatshirt on that made the prank call, and they lying about that too. They want you to think it was the defensive coordinator's son. They want you to believe that he got that number out the laptop. But what I actually am starting to believe is he got it directly from somebody in the New York Giants. Which means the defamatory squad, the New York Giants, the scouts they lied on, all of this shit came out the New York Giants because they wanted Jackson Dart because the Mannings have the connection from Ole Miss to New York. Welcome Jackson Dart to New York. Eli Manning. Where he went to school? Ole Miss. Where his daddy went to school? Ole Miss. Who did they play for? The New York Giants. The GM, the daughter, where she go to school? Ole Miss. Who's her schoolmate? Jackson Dart. The guy that made the prank call, where he went to school? Ole Miss. Whose child is he? Question mark. That's how he knew Shadeur had to wait. Nobody else randomly calling somebody would know that Shadeur was not going to New Orleans. Even Coach Prime thought he was going to New Orleans. How he know? Because he had inside information, executive level information, because they were talking about Shadeur behind closed doors, and he was so attached to these people that he's in those rooms. The defensive coordinator's son goes to college in New Jersey. Ole Miss is not in New Jersey. It's coming down to that Ole Miss connection, an NFL insider that has been named in the New York Giants, in the Mannings. It's going to get worse before it get better. It's coming out. It's coming out. And it's going to keep coming out, and this is going to expose everybody, and it's going to expose racism 101. This is not even master's level racism. They bold with it. And they've been bold with it since they took in racism out the goddamn end zone. They should have left it there. But no. And that tell you who running things. That tell you who they yield to. And that's why Shadeur is in Cleveland. So, it's just one of those things where, it seems simple. It seems complex, but it's really simple. And this is also for people that want to know why people care. They going to the point to say why people are obsessed with Shadeur. They rather say people are obsessed with Shadeur than to admit that he has fans because he's good. To admit he has NFL fans that because he's good. So they rather dismiss it and say, oh, they obsessed, like he's not good. Because they don't want to say he's good because he should have never been 144. He should have went right there to Cleveland at the number 2 spot. And if they think they're going to put him out there for $4 million and win them anything, that's why he needs to just go get them. Give them what they want. Give them what they want. See, sometimes you got to give people what they want. But it's true. He got to wait till God open that door. And he may or may not. Who knows? But the point is, if it does, sometimes you got to give people what they want. But see, he ain't going nowhere until he fully understands. So until he has all the understanding that going to Canada is God's will for him because that's his protection because he could get hurt in the NFL. He talked about his spirituality is growing. It's still growing. He needs to find other ways to cope with this BS, but because if you don't, he gonna get hurt. He gonna end up like Vince Young, problem after problem after problem, because they don't want you. They gonna exacerbate you sneezing, if they think it's something wrong with it that they could use. He don't need to be in that situation. But to be honest with you, that's what they could do. But this whole Aaron Rodgers situation, they can't say shit. Cleveland can't say nothing because of Stephon Diggs' team-to-team decision. And NFL can't say a damn thing because of Aaron Rodgers. That's they doing. You prove me wrong. The NFL will be exposed by one of his insiders. It's a matter of time. Right. Because, if somebody haul me in the court or sue me directly and I'm doing what you told me to do, I'm going to tell. See, when you commit crimes with a lot of people, somebody going to tell. Everybody know that, right? Everybody know that. You didn't watch Ocean's 11. We talked about it. They all had a master plan, but it's always going to be somebody that tells. This is how it goes. And they all got together and colluded. And they scapegoated who? Coach Prime. And Shadeur's going to have to come to understanding. Coach Prime's going to have to come to understanding. We know exactly what this is. And I don't know what they think is going to happen in the NFL. Because as hard as they fight it, they're not going to make it no easier. He just might be on the bench, journeyman, team to team to team, like Tyrod Taylor. Because why? He got a case. He got a case. Tyrod Taylor's case is supposed to go to be heard in 2025, later in 2025. That happened in what, 2022 or 2020? It's been 50 years. So just bury him on the death chart. And that's what they're going to do. We're going to see. So this was the divine intervention I was looking for. This is what's holding them accountable. You can't say shit about Shadeur because you need to go take care of Aaron Rodgers first. And Cleveland can't say shit about Stephon Diggs. I mean about Shadeur because of Stephon Diggs, and they all on the same team level. So we'll go for one, go for the other. So shut the hell up. And you better leave them alone because you see what happened to Kyron Lacy. And if something happened to Shadeur, everybody gonna stand on your head. So you've been warned. This your final warning. You better stop. But they ain't gonna stop. I saw Colorado post congratulations to, I guess, the UFL defenders or something like that, and they won. And I was thinking to myself, because I believe Coach Prime, the way it was treating Shadeur, I believe they need to start, his own league. I believe this immediately, right after the draft, somewhere around all this negativity before the draft. All this lying and defamatory statements and public humiliation is just ridiculous when they didn't have to draft it at all. And that tells you what they're capable of. See, when people show you what they're capable of, they never had to draft him. So why did they? They'd rather sit up and lie on him than to let him walk free to Canada. You see? You know what that is? That's psychotic. If I can't have you, I'm going to destroy you and myself rather than to let you be free and go to Canada. That sounds like a psychopath. Vince Young could have went to Canada. They didn't want that either. So what they afraid of? People gonna know they racist. We knew that already. You flying that flag. You flying that flag. We all see it. They just want the people who are okay with it to latch on. But they must not be paying attention to what's going happening in 50 countries across the US. So they ain't gonna make it right. They gonna need Jesus to wake each one of them up at 4 in the morning and say, "Hey, I'm right here. I'm in control." They ain't gonna do it. They believe in themselves. They don't believe in God. And they see they tried to keep Shadeur out the draft, and God keep that door open. He can use whoever. And they still with the shit. So we get ready to wrap up, guys. It's an hour. This was the lunch. We'll be back at 4 o'clock. I'm glad we had this conversation because there are a lot of people who feel like, we feel the same. We see, how they are mishandling Shadeur, how they are excluding Shadeur. I'm just here to say, they did that to Joe Gilliam. He won outright, and they gave the starting job to Terry Bradshaw because he's white. And they did that. And the climate at the time was in support of that, right? So the NFL is trying to repeat what happened to Joe Gilliam. And they already did, in my opinion, in 2023 in Cleveland, which is why they didn't have a starter. Deshaun Watson started the most games at 6, but they gave the starting job to Joe Flacco. Why they didn't give it to PJ Walker? Because the 2 games they let him play back to back, he won, right? Where's PJ Walker? In Canada. Guess who else probably need to be there? Every quarterback coming out after Shadeur. Sometimes you just got to give them what you want. Or start your own damn league. I don't know why that's not an option. Because y'all the talent. But we had that conversation already. So, good day from Arizona. Hey, Blue Moon, how you doing? So, the NFL in Cleveland are looking for like-minded people doing their bidding, doing the media. The media has names. They can be called out. They think they can hide. They can't. Defamation, the media can be sued for defamation as well. They know that. But again, arrogance. Oh, they're not going to do nothing to us. It ain't they need to be worried about. That's the reality. It ain't they that need to be worried about. All right. So I guess I better get out of here because I'm running over time. Okay, so we'll be back at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This was awesome. This was awesome. I hope the takeaways, or he's being excluded intentionally. Black quarterbacks before him have been excluded. Non-quarterbacks with problematic issues get held up like a stereotype and are given the pass. They can't say shit about Shadeur because they didn't even bother to look into what Danica Patrick said. And now that Aaron Rodgers is out here with a wedding ring on and an imaginary bride, they can't say shit about Shadeur. And Cleveland better leave Shadeur the hell alone. If NFL don't want Cleveland, they don't want Shadeur. They know what they need to do. And Stephon Diggs got a pass, so Shadeur, leave him alone and let him do his job. All right, y'all. See y'all later. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. 4 o'clock. Then also gonna be 4:05. So 4 o'clock, 4:05. See y'all later. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Be sure to join our daily live stream and listen up to What She Said Sports on the go on Spotify.